Hi everyone, good morning. Hi Margaret, Natasha, Fiona. All right, let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. Perfect, super, okay. So I've got 8 people signed up, so I'll just give it another couple of minutes before we get started. Yeah, good to my second round of Qualiopi. It's good to hear. Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, Fiona, in when you signed up, you said that it's something you can put on your V, right? So we'll talk about that today as well. Oh yeah, great. That's good to know. Actually, I was going to ask. So Margaret, you've got your NDA. What about you, Natasha? Do you have your NDA? Just to know if we need to talk about that or not. You don't? Okay. So right, while we're waiting, then I'll talk briefly about the NDA. So NDA is numéro de déclaration d'activité. So anyone who is an organisme de formation. So if you are a trainer, you should have an NDA. Just it's a proof that it's a requirement to show that you're a trainer. So I'm going to put. Let me share my screen. I can show you how to do that. I'll go over here. Right, so, mon activité. Formation. Now, I did try to go on this website last night and it just completely crashed and didn't work. So maybe it's still down, but I'm going to put the link in the chat for you so you can go on that later. So basically, to get your NDA, then you'll need your Sirène, or if you're an auto-entrepreneur, you've got your Sirène as well. So you'll have all your information on your document from INSEE. You'll need an extrait de casier judiciaire. So that's easy to get online. Extrait casier judiciaire. Give me the link for that. So you just do the request online there and they send it to you, I think pretty quickly now. Actually, it used to be in the post, but I think you can just get it sent to you by email quite quickly. I think this website's still down, so that's not going to work. So you need your Sirène, your casier judiciaire, and you'll also need your first convention de formation. So convention is basically like a contract. So it will show your agreement, like with a company or with a client, about what's going to be on your course, what you're offering to them. And so it's signed by your client. And that's your service unavailable. It's still not working. So I'm sorry about that, Natasha. You're not going to be able to do that today. But keep checking back. I don't know why that website's down. Yeah, so you only need one contract. It should be your first professional training contract. So that could be, for example, if you work with an agency or a language school, that could be your contract with them for a particular student, for example. So you just need to show one. So that's always the first step. So you can't do Qualiopi without doing this step, your NDA. Hi, Ruth. Thanks for joining us. Ruth, I don't know how much of that you heard or whether you've got your NDA or if you need to know a little bit more about that. Haven't got your NDA, but you've looked into it. Okay, so you know how that's done. So yeah, just this website's down at the moment, so you need mon activité de formation to be working. It's just okay. First contract, extrait casier judiciaire. Okay, and then what will happen after that? This is regardless of whether you've got Qualiopi or not. Every year, I think I've got it written down somewhere actually. I think the limit is the end of April. Every year you have to come back to this website, Mon Activité Formation, and you have to do your BFP, your bilan pédagogique financier. So every year you have to go on there and you have to input how many hours you've done of professional training and how much money you've made from it. So yeah, just to be aware of that, you'll keep a note throughout the year of how much you're earning and how many hours you've done. That's really important. Margaret, I'll wait for your question before I get started. I'm not sure how to put hours that I do for an association. I mean, yeah, when in doubt, just put them in. I've had my NDA since 2020. I've never had any kind of control or anything like that. I just put all the teaching hours that I do go on there. Can we fill out the in the past? No, you can't do it retroactively, and you wouldn't need to anyway. It's just once you've got your NDA. So, for example, if you get your NDA and get everything sorted, so let's say in June, you don't have to do anything until next year, 2025, before the end of April. That's when you'll have to do everything from the last year. Okay. All right, so let me get my lovely PowerPoint on for you. Up. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen here now. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. Share my other screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Qualiopi, is it worth it? Now, I'm going to tell you today why I think that it is. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it is expensive. Yeah, sure. There's a lot of documents that you need, and it can be stressful, it's true. But for me, personally, in the long term, I don't think it's a massive cost. I'll tell you why. And there are ways to make it work for you, ways to make it cheaper, ways to make it less stressful, and ways to make getting those documents much easier. So a little bit about me then. I've been a TEFL certified English teacher in Paris since 2012, working for language schools. I went freelance in 2014, and then mainly because I went on maternity leave, and when I came back, all of my clients just didn't want to know me anymore. I decided I was going to stop working with other schools. I was going to cut the middleman, and also obviously working in schools for so long, I'd seen how much the schools were charging compared to how much they were paying me, and I just had enough of all that. So I went from auto-entrepreneur status to an SASU in 2020. I opened my company here in Maisons-Laffitte, which is in the western suburbs of Paris. And yeah, so as soon as I opened the company, that's when I gradually started to work on getting Qualiopi, and got certified in March of 2022. So yeah, I did spend a long time kind of gathering my documents. I was really scared, really stressed out by the whole idea of it. I mean, I'm sure some of you would say the same thing. Like if you've looked at your, the indicateurs, all the information, it's, even if you speak really good French, the language is just, sometimes it can go straight over your head. Like, what does this mean? So it was always something that was really daunting to me. So yeah, it did take me a long time to do it. But since then, I just keep saying to myself, why didn't I do it before? Why didn't I do it sooner? It was just so easy. So yeah, I mean, obviously in the beginning, that's when it's most stressful, but then once it's done, it's done. And that's the main thing that I wanted to say to you today. Like, once it's done, it's done. So what are the steps then? So one, NDA, we've spoken about that briefly. If you want to send me messages or ask me any questions about that as you get further in the process, like, feel free. But I think, yeah, it's quite straightforward. We've got to get this website up and working, and I don't know what's wrong with it. But I mean, that's at least since yesterday afternoon that it's down. I don't know what's going on. Then step 2 is your prep. So when I say prep, I mean getting all your documents together. Which is, for me, it's not a step that you need to sit down and do all in one go. It's gradual, okay? And the great thing about the prep stages is that you're literally doing it now without even realizing it. So getting your documents together is having things like feuille d'émargement. So how do you get people to sign? Okay, once you've got your way of getting people to sign to say that they've done their class, their hour, whether it be like an online solution, an e-signature that you use, or whether you've got a paper solution, that is one document that can go in a folder under the heading of the indicateur that it's relevant to, and that's it. You're doing it. Have you got a programme pédagogique? Do you have a program for your students? Have you written down, okay, so for this person, we're doing a B2 made-to-measure class for a CEO of a company who needs to improve in presentation skills and negotiation skills. Okay, what are you going to do in that person's training? They've got 20 hours. This is everything we're going to do. These are the objectives. I mean, how often do you do that? I'm sure you do it all the time. I'm sure you've been doing it for years. There you go. That's another thing. Stick it in a folder. That's it. That's part of the prep. That's all it is. So another reason why I want to say to you that it's easy and that you should do it and that it's not something to be stressed about is because you're already doing it. After then, you've got the audit itself. So, I mean, the most stressful thing about the audit itself is fear of the unknown, I think. Maybe, I'm not sure if everybody speaks great French. Even if you do, I'm sure it can be daunting to be in that kind of, like, even the word audit, I think, is scary sometimes, isn't it? So the audit itself can be scary, but it's more of like a performance anxiety, I suppose, because you're kind of put in the hot seat, all the pressure's on you. But in my experience, I've had 3 audits so far. I did a pre-audit, which is like a practice audit. I've done my initial audit, and I've done my audit de surveillance, which is the checkup audit. So all 3 times, they were really lovely people. They're not there to catch you out. I mean, you're essentially their client. They want to keep you as a client, and they're really nice. So they can't tell you, if they say, this indicateur is what we're looking at now, so how do you kind of respond to this indicateur? And you say something and it's not quite right, they'll say, no, that's not quite right, or okay, I need more, or whatever. They can't say, okay, this is what I need. It could be something so simple, like, but you just don't understand the language that they're using or what they're asking for exactly. But maybe all they need to do is see your website or a programme pédagogique that you've done before, but you're not quite getting it in the question. They'll just keep kind of repeating the same question, but they're not allowed to tell you exactly what the document is they're looking for. Even though they know that you've got it and it's right there, they're not allowed to say, okay, this is the document that we need. But, you know, they're not going to say, like, okay, we failed there. You keep trying. And then maybe they'll say to you, you know, you've got the whole day for the audit. Okay, we'll leave that one for now and we'll come back to it later. You've got the whole day of the audit to kind of think about what it is, to go back to it, and eventually give them the document during the day. If by the end of the day you don't have the right document, so that's called a non-conformité. If it's a non-conformité measure, you've got 3 months after your audit to provide it, and you still get certified. Okay, so it's not because you didn't have something on the day or you misunderstood something or you couldn't quite find the right thing that you don't get the certification. You've still got 3 months after the audit to make up for any mistakes you made and get the right documents to the people. So in terms of the audit then, for the indicateurs and all of that for Qualiopi, you've got 7 criteria. And within the 7 criteria, there are 32 indicateurs. Okay, so I'm going to show you from my last audit. If I can share my, I'll just switch. I'm going to show you a PDF. Okay, where's that one? It doesn't let me show my PDF. Alright, technical difficulties again. Saying I'm not authorizing it. Oh, okay, if I show the whole screen. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to work. How about if I send it to you in the chat? That might work. Ah, okay, maybe. Tell me if this works. Wow, okay. How's that? Can you see that? Yeah, okay, perfect. Super. Oh, sorry, that took ages. All right, so basically every time you do an audit, then you're going to get this document, which shows
Sorry, is that better? Yeah, sorry, okay. All right, so sorry, I don't know where it cut off then, but if you look on the indicateur 1 then, le prestataire diffuse une information accessible au public détaillée, and then in the middle column, it'll show you, this is like the notes from the auditor. So this is what I showed them to show that I'm conforming with this indicateur. Okay, so site internet, so my website, programme de formation, anglais intermédiaire. Okay, so all that it's asking you in this indicateur 1 is that you show online or somewhere what you have to offer. Okay, so if I go over to my option, all that means then, all I had to do during the audit then was go on my website here and show that here I have all the information that anyone might need if they want to do lessons with me. And specifically, here are my programmes pédagogiques that are on my website. So you can click on any of those and see what I offer to my clients. Okay, so literally your auditor is going to come in the room. The first thing they're going to say is this indicateur, like prove that you show this information to the public. You just go on your website and show them this is what I do, and that's it, and then you've passed basically. So it's as simple as that. That's all you have to do for that one thing. Now let's come back to the other screen. Voilà. Okay, indicateur 2, le prestataire diffuse des indicateurs de résultats adaptés. So as you can see here, what I showed is that I show on my website the taux de satisfaction. So after my first trainings that I did in 2022, when the people finished, I had them do a questionnaire to say if they, appreciated the course, what was good, what was bad, and, rate it out of 5. And all that information is shown on my website. And there you go, that's indicator number 2. So if this is your first audit, you can say, well, I haven't had any clients yet, so I don't have a taux de satisfaction. And that's fine. So if you're a nouvel entrant, as they say, like a first time or auditee, shall we say, you wouldn't be able to show that. But what you'll have to do during your audit is say what you would do. So for this, you can say, okay, once I've had my first clients, what I'm going to do is on my website, I will have a page that will show all of the responses from my clients with the 5 out of 5 or whatever you're going to do. So that's really important to note as well. Anything that you can't say because you haven't done it yet and it's brand new for you, all you have to do is tell them what you would do and what you're going to do. And then when you have your audit de surveillance, when they come and check up after you after 18 months, you have to show that you've done what you said you were going to do. Okay, so anything in there that you can say, oh, well, I haven't done that yet, I can't do that because I'm new. They want you to say what you will do, what you intend to do. So that's really important as well. So that's something that really scared me in the beginning as well. It's like, well, this doesn't apply to me. I haven't done this yet. I don't have any clients, or this hasn't happened to me. So I don't know what to do. But all they want you to do is say what you would do in these cases. Okay. For example, as well, if you don't have a website and you don't want to have a website, that's fine too. You could have, for example, a brochure. You could say that this information, these are my programmes pédagogiques, this information is available. If a client or a potential client sends me an email asking for information, then this is what I send back to them. This is the information. So you don't even have to have a website if you don't want to. I think it's easier, and of course it's free for, you know, if you've got like WordPress or something, you can get the free versions. I think it's easy to have that information online, but it's not indispensable, shall we say. You don't have to have a website. There are other ways around doing it. Okay. Any questions so far? Oh, Fiona, the very first thing I asked was to see the website. Yeah. Okay. I do think it's more practical. You can tell us where to find the indicators. I'll send this document to you after if you want, Margaret. I'll send it to you by email. So yeah, first things first was to see the website. Yeah, I think it's quite natural as well when you're teaching, is to, and well, you're an entrepreneur as well, so to have a website, I do think it's quite important. But it's not like a what do you call it, a foot measure, like for Qualiopi. They're not going to not give you Qualiopi because you don't have a website. They understand if you're an entrepreneur and maybe you're not going to have one, but I do think it's easier for you, and it's better for, you know, obviously finding clients. It looks more professional. Let's see what Natasha's saying. Oh, you're going to ask the same question. Okay, sorry. All right, moving on then. Okay, so NDA prep, audit, and then once you've done your audit, the next step is going to be EDOF. Okay, so EDOF is, guys, you know about EDOF? That's my question. Anybody not know about EDOF? No, you don't know about EDOF. Okay, so if your client goes on the website Mon Compte Formation, that's what they use to pay with their CPF. Okay, so the back office version of that is called EDOF. That's where you go as the entrepreneur. So whatever you as like a particulier or a client can see on Mon Compte Formation, you know, where you see all the trainings and where you sign up to pay for something with your CPF. The back office version for the business is called EDOF. So that's where you input your trainings. That's where you put your prices or your programme pédagogique, all that information. Now, to get on EDOF, you need to have a certification. Okay, so that needs to be like TOEIC or whatever it is. Now, at the minute, I think for most people, unless you've got it already, getting in with TOEIC is impossible. Okay, I don't particularly appreciate TOEIC as an exam. I don't think it's the best exam, but there is a lot of demand for it. One way that I get around that, because I'm not affiliated with TOEIC, is that I'll get the student to do the exam that I am affiliated to, and just you know, sell it to them as like, okay, you get to do 2 exams, it's free, and then I'll get them to take, yeah, Linguistics just ended, we'll talk about that as well, and then get them to take the TOEIC like as a, you know, particulier, just present them separately, and then for them they get 2 certificates and they're happy. But yeah, yeah, so Fiona says Linguistics has just ended. It's true, Linguistics was my exam, so I'm really annoyed about that. Linguistics was one that was like quite easy to get in with. It's used to be the bullets, if you don't know it. So now I've moved on to Chloe. Yeah, Zach from EDOF. Total requirement. So basically, to get your training, even when you've got Qualiopi and everything, to get your training on that Mon Compte Formation website so that students can sign up for it, you need to be affiliated with an exam. And when everything changed a few years ago, when the requirements got more intense, TOEIC just stopped accepting like small language schools and entrepreneurs and that. They only wanted places like Wall Street English and those. So it's when it was a couple of years ago when there was kind of like a reform, everything started getting more strict to try and stop the arnaqueur. Like there was a lot of scams, wasn't there, with CPF? So everything just got more and more strict. And yeah, to get in with TOEIC as a small business or an auto-entrepreneur, it's nigh on impossible. But you have to have an exam that you're affiliated with to put your trainings on the Mon CPF website. So you do have some other options now. So I was with Linguistics. It was the easiest one to get in with, I found, and recently the governing body didn't allow them to renew their contracts, and it just disappeared and there was no warning. I'm sure, yeah, Fiona, you're probably as frustrated by that as I am. It was horrible. I had clients trying to sign up and it was like, oh, the website's not working. So now I'm working with Chloe. You've got other options, I think, that are even easier. For a Bright English, for example, is apparently quite easy to get signed up with. So I will give you a list when I send you an email with the replay and the indicators document. I'll send you a list of different exams that you've applied to Bright, Fiona. Yeah, I'm going to apply to Bright as well. I'll send you a list of these exams that you can apply to be part of. So basically, yeah, that is another part of the whole like paperwork side of it. You have to apply to an exam. You have to explain to them what you do, what your trainings are about. Yeah, I know, Natasha, it's a bit of an annoying one. So the thing is, for somebody to pay with their CPF, it has to be a formation certifiante. Okay, so there has to be an exam, and you have to do it with a certified exam board. And you have to pay. Yeah, you have to pay for the exam, which is usually between 100 and 200 per exam. So you have to figure that into your pricing. Yeah, but let's say, for example, you know, usually what you would do as well, you would say to somebody, how much money have you got on your Mon Formation, and how much of it do you want to spend on your English training? They might say to you, I've got 4,000 euros, I want to spend all of it. So let's say what you do, approximately 70 to 80 euros an hour for your face-to-face time. You get the 4 grand, you do what, 50 to 60 hours? I'm not very good at doing quick maths in my head. Out of that sum, the maybe 200 euros for the exam is not a massive expense. Yeah, so yeah, it sounds like a lot in the beginning, but it's not huge considering how much you're getting for the actual training. So yeah, so that's about getting on EDOF. On the other hand, if you're working with companies, they use what's called their OPCO. So OPCO is organizations that finance training for companies. My experience with companies using their OPCOs has been much more straightforward than the particulier on EDOF. You just write basically a training program, a convention, which is like the contract. Yeah, I haven't. Oh, have you had bad experiences, Fiona? They've, kind of assessed your offer and send them a bill. Just one, and that was enough. Okay. Personally, I haven't had much of an issue with companies using their OPCOs. It's been quite straightforward for me. But yeah, I guess it's not going to be the same for everybody. But maybe try with another company, Fiona. It might be a different experience, I hope, for you. So yeah, so for the steps then, are there any questions maybe about EDOF or audit or anything, or are we all good? Natasha, you got a question? In general, so it's difficult to get affiliated with an exam. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's easy. It's not the easiest thing that I've done. It is one of the more annoying things that I've done. But what I would say is when you start out, apply to all of them. Just apply to everything. Get several of them like on your repertoire. Because as Fiona and I have learned recently, if you've only got a linguist skill and then they don't get recertified, it's a big problem. So if you get like a few different exams, I think it's better. And then, it's better obviously to apply for loads of them and then, say you apply for 10 and you get 3 that accept you. then you've got nothing to worry about after that. Not as easy as before, yeah, certainly. Margaret, what's the next step after the NDA? You can go to a company of your choice, an auditor. So there's a list of companies that are allowed to do audits, Qualiopi audits, and then you set up your audit basically. Once you've got all your prep done, you've got all those documents according to the indicateur, then you can go and organize your audit. Now, you can do a pre-audit, which is what I did. Obviously, that's more money. So we'll go on to the next slide and we'll talk about money. Okay, so the audit then, costs. So do you want to do an audit blanc, which is a pre-audit, a practice run? Give yourself time. Yeah, I prepared slowly after 8 months. I would say though, Fiona, if you're teaching now, you have most of these documents already, most of the things that you need. It is things like your programs, your, one of the indicateurs is, how do you prove that what you put in your objectives is being done in the classes? And then the answer to that is, well, I've got a class log. So I have like a blank document that's got lesson, and then it would be lesson 1, 2, 3, etc. And then there's like a big empty block where I write in what we did during that lesson. And so when they say, how do you prove what you put in your objectives is being done in the class? Well, we've got this class log. Every lesson we write down what was done in the lesson, and that corresponds to what was in the program. And there you go, you've passed that section. It's as simple as that. Yeah, Fiona, I overthought. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. That's why it took me like 2 years to actually sit down and do it. But it is just so simple. These are all documents that you already have, that even if you're not writing them down because you're not Qualiopi, you don't necessarily need them. They're in your head. You've been teachers for years. You know how it works. You know what you need. Those documents are in your head. You just need to put them down on paper, type them, whatever it is. But these are all things that you know how to do already that are simple. And I'll bet as well, if you're working with training centres, language schools, these are things that you're already doing. They'll be coming at you, oh, I want this couple, the stage, how's this student doing? I want the feuille de marchement. You've got all this paperwork to do for like a big company that's making this 80 odd euros an hour, and you're the one teaching. So you're giving them the documents that they need to show during their Qualiopi audit, and they're making that much money off of you. Like, just do it for yourself. Have all that money for you and forget these big schools. So audit blanc. I decided to do one again, like you, Fiona. I was probably overthinking. I was really stressed out about the whole thing. It was reassuring for me, but it is expensive. I mean, I think it was maybe 700 euros to do the audit blanc. But then at least I knew what was missing, what was going to come up in the real thing. But I mean, I don't necessarily think that you have to do an audit blanc. Okay, if you follow like the steps that I'm telling you, if you believe me and trust me that it is this simple, you don't necessarily need to do the audit blanc. If you follow the document that I'm going to send you, you can look at the examples of what I gave as my proofs. It's quite simple. Coaching and training. So somebody sent me, it was Chris, you sent me a message about this point. So where was the question? Is it necessary to follow a course to help navigate the process, or is it possible to DIY? It's totally up to you. Of course, it's possible to DIY. Would a course help you? Probably. Would it make it faster? Probably, yes. I do have a course of my own that I'll show to you at the end if you're interested in taking that. So yeah, it is. A course is helpful. I'll show you and explain to you what that is at the end, but you don't have to do it. Okay, if you're like trying to, remain in a tight budget, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do the audit blanc. You don't have to do any coaching or training, but the option is there if you've got the money and you think it would be helpful for you. Yeah, sure, why not? Software solutions as well. There's a company called Kiwi. I'll send you a link for that. Kiwi. Oh, that I can't find now. Right, I'll send you that link after. Otherwise, I'm going to spend ages looking for it. So you've got a lot of different like software solutions, basically, where you've got a website where it will have like all of the indicateurs that you need, and then like examples and spaces to put them in, to keep all your documents in one place. So that's an option as well. Obviously, that's a cost. Time, how much time does it take? Well, personally, I don't think in the long run it's a massive cost of your time, because like I say, you are already doing it now. You have all these documents, whether they're in your head, whether you're sending them to the language schools that you're working for, whatever it is, it's there. Okay, so time wise it's not huge. And then you're going to see things like Fiona said, this webinar that can go towards your what's called the V. So the V is, you have to make sure that you're staying up to date with the legal side of things, like what are the new rules. So for example, for my V légal, I can say, so last week we saw in the news that at some point this year, it's gone through the court or whatever, that they're going to make people pay 10% of their training. So once that's active, I can put that in my documents. I can say, okay, so I saw this news. They're going to, people are going to have to pay 10% of the training or whatever. And then, so when the auditor says to you, how have you been keeping up to date with the law? Okay, well, this is a law that I saw changed. And so yeah, that proves that I'm keeping on top of things, that I know what's going on in the industry, basically. And then, for example, another thing, what I did in my last audit was a new law is that you have to have your Qualiopi certificate accessible to your clients. So that was something as well that I said, that was a way that I was following the law. So I saw that a new law is that I have to make that available, like on the wall. So it's on the wall outside my office now. It's displayed. It has to be displayed. So that's another like box ticked, basically. All I had to do was say, okay, I saw the news that now you have to display the certificate, and I've displayed the certificate. Box ticked. Done. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then you can say, okay, so to keep up to date with how things work, to make sure I understand the documents that I need, I went to Natasha's webinar on the 11th of March and I learned about the NDA. And that's it. Then you prove to the auditor that you're keeping up to date with things. You've done something that was completely free, completely simple. So all you have to say is, I went to this webinar, this was the date, here's the email proof, and this is one thing that I learned from that email. And then you show that you're keeping up to date with the industry. Okay. All right, so if we go back to cost, so my pre-audit, was approximately 700. The audit itself was approximately 1,000. Then every year I have to pay what's called redevance annuelle. So the redevance annuelle, I have to pay approximately 500 to the auditing company, and that covers the audit. Yeah, proof being the important word. You have to prove everything. Yeah, so for example, you keep the email confirmation of this webinar, you write down one thing that you learned during the webinar, print it, put it in a folder, and it's there. Okay, so approximately 500 euros per year. That covers the cost of the surveillance, audit surveillance. And then next year it'll be renouvellement. So you've got all these different types of audit, but they're essentially the same thing. You're covering the same indicateur, you're covering the same questions, you've got to show the same documents, the same information, the same proof. So yeah, 3 different names, but always the same thing. So if we look what I've put here, then approximately 2,500 over 3 years. Okay, so for the audit blanc, for my audit initial, for my renouvellement, so that will have taken me from the very beginning, no, actually the end of 2021, because that's when I did my pre-audit, and I don't have to do anything now until this time next year. So I'm covered from end of 2021 up to the beginning of the middle of 2025, really. So over 3 years, 2,500. That works out at about 80 euros a month, which I don't think is enormous. Okay, so think about the client that's coming to you. You're working for a company, they've sent you to a company. Oh, I'm finishing my classes, I love my classes with you, I'd love to carry on with you. but I want to pay with my CPF. Okay, and I've got 4,000 euros on my compte that I want to spend, and you have to say no because you haven't gone through this process that's essentially only costing you 80 euros a month. It's not a massive expense in the long run. Okay, so I know, like, just seeing that figure there, 2,500, sounds huge, but when you break it down to how much it costs you monthly, it's not huge. Okay. After, so paperwork and legwork. So DIRITS is for the NDA, that's the governing body of that. So you've got to do that. You've got to think about doing your BFP, your bilan financier pédagogique, every year, which is essentially just inputting the numbers, how many hours, how much money did I make. The 32 indicators. So you're not, I think there are 3 indicateurs that aren't relevant to language teachers. So we can already take that down to 29. Let's see what Fiona's saying. It gives a professional image of a company which you don't get otherwise. Do you mean having Qualiopi? Yeah, 100% it does. Yeah. So contracts, you need to write contracts. That's another bit of paperwork. But again, it's something that once you've done it, it's done. You write one sample contract and you've got it for life. All you've got to do is change the name after that and objectives here and there. Formation continue. So you do have to prove that you're, training yourself. So these can be simple things as well. From time to time, I do free webinars. Like right now, it's going to be about Qualiopi, but sometimes I'll do a webinar about effective ways to teach online, for example. Again, you put that down. Okay, I went to Natasha's free webinar. You don't have to tell them that it was free, obviously. I did Natasha's training. You call it a training. I went to Natasha's 1-hour training on the 5th of April. And it taught me this, like I learned how to do this that I didn't know how to do before. And that proves that, I'm keeping on top of my training. The V, like we talked about before. There's loads of organizations that you can sign up to that send you emails. So every time there's like a change in the law or a bit of news about Qualiopi or CPF, you get an email about it. So you just save that email, you put it in a folder for V, and then when they say, how are you keeping up with the news and the laws? I'm signed up with this email subscription, so I get this information. On this date, I got this email that showed me this news. It affects me in this way, whatever. Margaret, can you approach companies without Qualiopi? Yes and no. Yeah, they're not really likely to be responsive to you. And if you don't have Qualiopi, they can't pay with their OPCO, which is a problem. And like Fiona said as well, it just makes you, it gives you a professional image of your company and you as a professional. Bottom one then, assessments, follow-ups, questionnaires. So this is documents that you'll need as well. You've got to do like an initial assessment. How do you assess the person's level in the beginning? So you write a test. Thanks, Fiona. Follow-ups. So this would be things like, I send a questionnaire at the end of the training to see how it went. So you've got to, think about doing that. But again, these are all documents that once you've made the documents, that they're done for life then. Yeah, so for me, is it worth it? Yeah, that's worth it, because as well, a lot of these are documents that these big companies are going to be asking you for. Oh, have you got this document? Have you done this report? No. You're doing it for them. Like, just do it for yourself. Okay. All right, any questions at this point? Okay. So, I'll show you the way that I organize myself now. I do it on Google Drive. Okay, so here I've got every single indicateur for Qualiopi. And there you go. In each folder, then I've got all the documents I need. So when the auditor is there, all I need to do is open this. Okay, everything's there. And then, well, let's go into, we've been talking a lot about V legal. Let's look at that. So V legal, yeah, I've got a subscription that I paid for, but you don't necessarily have to pay for things like that. V pedagogy. Oh, I don't have my files in there. Oh, I haven't been very good at putting everything in here recently. Définition des objectifs. Okay, so I've got a fiche de suivi. So again, this is a document that once it's done, yeah, it's going to take you some time to write the document, but once it's done, there you go. You put it in your folder and you don't have to do it again. You just fill it in for each client that you have. Okay. So I've got everything there. I've also got folders, like physical folders, where if I see something that I think, that's probably why I've got nothing in my V legal actually. If I see something that comes in through one of my email notifications that would be part of my V legal, I'll just print it off and I'll put it in a physical folder. And then I can add it there after when I'm getting ready for an audit, for example. Okay, so that's the way I work. You might find it's better for you to work like with hard copies, or you can do it like this. It's totally up to you, however you want to work. Yeah, so that's something that I can share with you as well. Voila. All right, so I'll show you now then the training that I have. Qualiopi in 4 weeks. So at the minute, I'm signing people up for Qualiopi in 4 weeks. If you want to join this training, the idea is that in 4 weeks, you get together all the documents that you need and you feel confident to do it yourself. So the whole point of this training is that you do it once and then that's it. You never have to like pay for anything again. You feel confident then for your audits in the future and you're not scared and etc. Like it's all in your hands then. You've got all those documents that you need, it's all done, and you can just feel confident to do your future audits yourself. So this training then, it's 12 hours with me to help you prepare. So we do 2 half-day sessions, which are 4 hours, where we'll cover, we'll go through these for anybody who needs it again, your NDA, BFP, etc., choosing an auditing company. And then we'll look at all of the indicateurs over those times, and I'll give you examples of the documents that you need for each of those indicateurs and the things that you need to say to the auditor. And then after that, there'll be 2 2-hour sessions. So the point of the course being over 4 weeks is to give you the opportunity to get these documents together in between the sessions. That kind of forces you to do it. And that way, by the end of the 4 sessions, you'll have everything you need. Okay, you can ask questions as you come back. We'll talk more about EDUF and CPF and how to get on the website, tangible examples, regular Q&A. So bonuses for anyone who signs up to this today, you will get lifetime access to the course. So you'll have everything that we do during the course. You'll have like online examples of that as well. All the documents that I've shown you today, all those templates, I'll send those to you. So they'll be editable documents, so you can just change them and fill them in according to you and what you do. We also have a Slack community, so you can ask any questions. We can help each other out. For anyone who doesn't know Slack, it is like a chat system where you've got like different sections where you can ask different questions. A bit like if you remember the old MSN Messenger type thing. So everything in plain simple English and accountability. Okay, so everybody's in it together. It's split over 4 weeks and you're kind of forced to get all those documents together in that time. At the moment, the course is at 367, which is at least 200 euros cheaper than anything else remotely similar on the market. Anything else that is simple is 100% online and doing it at your own pace. It's not with an actual trainer. If you pay on PayPal as well, you can pay in 3 or 4 installments, I think. So if that interests you, I'll send you that link. Up. After I'm going to look at the rest of the questions that I got sent by email. So from Chris, how much does the whole process cost? Like we said before, it really depends on whether you decide to do any of these trainings, any coaching. Are you going to do a pre-audit? Go back to here. If so, then yeah, this was the cost for me. So I did pré-audit, audit initial, audit de renouvellement. So over 3 years, that was my cost. Chris also asked, how does that work out in time? Like I said, I've kind of explained that as well. I think time-wise, it's not a massive cost because you are already doing it. So when dealing with OPCOs, how much time do you spend with them? Chris asks. So, I mean, I think it's going to depend on the OPCO. It's going to depend on the company. It's going to depend on you. Because it seems like myself and Fiona have had quite different experiences. I've not found it something particularly time consuming. It's just been writing a contract for me and sending out a bill. The time between sending your proposal, like your program pedagogique, and getting an answer is quite long. But in terms of like the time that I've had to sit down and actually do work, it's not been huge. Chris also asked me, how much will this eat into my teaching and prep time? Is it worth staying as a subcontract with my current language schools? Yeah, again, I think these are questions that I've answered. It's not massively time consuming. It's not asking you for much more than you're already doing. You already have all these documents. And no, I don't think it's worth just staying as a contractor with language schools because they're making so much money off you. You might as well make all that money for yourself, I personally think. Me personally as well, I do like to have different activities. So my degree is actually in translation, and it's not something that I'm doing all the time, but I do some translation. I like to have other options, you know, to make ends meet. You know, I mean, there are ways to get into doing a little bit of translation. You can do like post-machine translation editing these days, like as a kind of side hustle. You do have like lots of different options for side hustles, I think. I do language editing as well for academic journals. So there are other things that you can do if you're kind of worried about not being able to make enough money just with your private clients, but that's totally up to you. So yeah, that's all Chris's questions. Anybody else have any other questions? I'll just wait for Natasha to type. And if I go back here then, so yeah, there's a bit more information about the course that I do if you want to look at that. Natasha, no question, but thank you. You're so welcome. If I do any more webinars, I'll let you know. Super. Okay. So I will send everybody the list of indicateurs. And remind me, was there anything else that I was going to send you? The indicator. Oh yeah, the websites for the companies that do the certifications. I'll send you the replay of the webinar as well in case you want to watch it. Was there anything else that I was supposed to send you? The companies for the certifications, the indicators. Was that it? Okay, super. All right, perfect. No more questions then, I'll let you go. I hope this was useful. Super, and don't forget to write it down, the date and the confirmation email, because you can use that for your audit if you decide to go ahead with it. Have a good day, everyone. Okay, thanks for coming.